Madeline, how are things going there?
The ballroom here behind me is now filled with supporters of the Democratic gubernatorial candidate, and everyone seems to be in pretty high hopes. The people are gathered for tonight's vigil. It was organized to recognize the 5 transgender women of color killed just this past month in the United States. Health insurance navigators like the one Hyde spoke to earlier today are in many places in Columbia, including the one right here, Columbia Public Library, that I'm standing right in front of. After speaking with several people that took our survey, both for and against the bill, it's clear that both sides feel they're heading a noble cause. I took a look at what this meant for each of them. I'm live here on Broadway, where the roads are actually pretty good right now. As you can see, they're wet, but that is just water, not any ice. That's mainly because they have had crews coming through downtown since Friday, laying down salt and making sure those roads are safe. Amita Creighton passed away in October of 2013. Now, each year, her friends, family, and those she's inspired create this Thanksgiving feast to make sure her memory lives on. Women make 78 cents for every dollar that a man makes, which doesn't seem like a lot of money, but as the salaries get bigger, the difference becomes more noticeable. For the event organizers, holding tonight's vigil was a matter of urgency, but for transgender people of color, it's a struggle they face every day.
You have people that won't like you for your race, and then you'll have people who won't like you for your sexual orientation or your gender identity.
Seeing the faces of the 5 black transgender women who were killed just last month is a feeling Gabby Hayes is all too familiar with.
I think there's still this idea of speaking about us as if we are theoretical rather than we are as humans who are real and exist.
Community members came to honor the lives of those trans women. They read the words of their parents and shed tears over their photos.
I felt really angry and just disgusted and upset when it felt like every single day I saw another black trans woman being murdered, and I just wanted something visible, something tangible to happen to acknowledge that.
But not everyone was there to mourn. Some were there to remind people there's still a fight to fight.
We're not here to just mourn the people who are lost, and we're there to actively advocate for people who exist now and who will continue to exist in the future.
And a lot more to be done.
When we call out our families, when we call out our friends, when we call out each other, when we're open to doing things that are scary, that can involve being critiqued and messing up, that's the real one part of the real day-to-day work that needs to be done, that desperately needs to be done.
Missouri lawmakers are not happy with all these 7-figure settlements being paid out and on the taxpayer dollar. On both sides of the aisle, lawmakers are asking for more accountability from the Attorney General and transparency from these settlements. Last night, we asked you your thoughts on this issue, and today I talked to one Missouri lawmaker who is trying to get to the bottom of it. It all started with the Missouri Department of Corrections. Reports saying a culture of harassment and discrimination led to a series of lawsuits against the state agency, costing the state millions in court.
We have been spending 2 to 3 times the money that was appropriated really for the last 5 years.
But corrections wasn't the only culprit.
We noticed that there were other departments as well that were having issues as well.
And the spending didn't end there.
We are budgeting some $6 million. And I believe we've exceeded $28 million, I believe, so far this year.
Discrimination, harassment, sexual harassment, wrongful death, all lawsuits whose victims are silenced once these settlements go through.
The victim is saying, oh, well, I'll take this money, and nothing happened. But we know something happened.
On this topic, one viewer said, they should never settle. Should be public info open for all to see, take to court and let a jury decide. Another viewer said, all of you screaming for court. If you lose, and they would, you incur court costs and a jury would probably award a lot more than the settlement. Fiscally speaking, it's the smart move. But fiscally speaking, lawmakers say it's getting expensive and say they can't fix the problem if they don't know what that problem is.
Do we have a staff issue? Is it a policy issue? What do we need to do to correct this problem?
Which is why they support the bill in the first place.
These are taxpayer dollars, and we have to be accountable for that.
McCann Beatty says another issue is that some state organizations like MoDOT, Department of Higher Ed, and the Department of Conservation don't have to go through the AG to get approved some of those funds in order to pay out these settlements for lawsuits. Now she hopes to change that as well. Reporting live in Jefferson City, Madeline Odle, KMU8 News. Today I sat down with Columbia Risk Manager Sarah Perry. She says her department works mainly with 3 types of claims. Now all 3 claims cost the city money, but only one type of claim takes them to court. Whether it's workers' compensation, city property damage, or general liability claims, the city is going to pay. Over the past 5 years, the most has been paid out for workers' comp, followed by liability claims, and trailed by property damage. Columbia is mostly self-insured, meaning it puts aside funds each year to pay for these claims.
It's never exact, but it's the best we can do to get an outside expert saying, here's what you need to have.
For workers' comp, the city is self-insured up to $750,000. For property damage, it's self-insured for the first $100,000 for each instance. And for liability claims, the city is self-insured up to $500,000 for each claim. When it comes to lawsuits, that money comes mainly from one type of claim.
Most settlements, yes, will be liability, anywhere from, personal injury, property, or, property damage to someone's property, or even an auto liability.
And when a settlement or court case finally finishes, that cost isn't recorded where you might think. Let's say these are the settlements for the last 3 years. If a case was filed in 2014 but not settled until 2016, the Risk Management Office would still consider that case payments made for 2014, not 2016, the year it was settled. With that in mind, here's the total amount paid by the city for liability claims over the last 5 years, according to the Risk Management Office. Although the amounts here represent the amount paid by claims made that year, we can't be sure which year settlements were actually paid out. If the city does exceed the amount the claim is insured for, then it has backup insurance to cover these larger claims. That insurance can cover up to $10 million in some cases. Reporting live in Columbia, Madeline Odle, KMU8 News.